Good morning, DawgNation. I'm Brandon Adams, and this is DawgNation Daily, the daily podcast for Georgia Bulldogs fans, presented by Pella Window and Door of Georgia. Man, we're in a great mood today and a chance to come in here and celebrate another win against Florida. I will warn you that for whatever reason, we had a big high school game on Friday and obviously the cocktail party on Saturday. My voice probably got a little banged up more so than it was, so you may notice a little bit. You may even get a laugh along. My voice has cracked a couple of times where you do the almost like the prepubescent thing of the, you may hear a little squeak at some point. And if you do, you can laugh at me. I'm sure you already will. You don't need my permission, but you're free to do that if you'd like. But we're feeling fine. We're feeling great. We're obviously thrilled about doing this here today. And I just cannot believe sometimes that these are the things we get to talk about. Another one of these now, 8 of 9 for Kirby against Florida, 5 straight just in this iteration alone. So we're going to get into it, what it means in this rivalry, what it means for Georgia this season, what it means for Georgia about what may come next. We'll try to touch on all of those things, the attention the game got from folks kind of outside the bubble on this. We'll cover all of that here today. Also, one of Georgia's rivals has fired its coach again. It feels like we do that every couple of years, too. Jon Stinchcomb comes by to help talk to us all about it. We got so much to do, y'all. It was another amazing, amazing weekend in Jacksonville and all around those Golden Isles and Florida coast and all the places where Georgia fans are gathered together and just making moments and memories, and we tried to soak up every single one. Great win for Georgia. Let's get ready to talk about it as DawgNation Daily, the daily podcast for Georgia Bulldogs fans, presented by Pella Window and Door of Georgia, begins right now.
Today's episode of DawgNation Daily is brought to you by Pella Window and Door of Georgia, viewed to be the best.
Presented by DawgNation.com, this is DawgNation Daily, the daily podcast for Georgia Bulldogs fans. Here's your host, Brandon Adams.
I will tell you this, you do not get tired of watching those celebrations in Jacksonville. And if you're with us on video today, Cody Chaffins and Jay Black and our team that puts this stuff together for us, we had a chance to relive a lot of those great celebrations there right a moment ago from another win for Georgia against Florida. And the feelings that I have around this are just so, they're almost overwhelming. And I know we try to bring that to you on our Dog Nation post-game call-in show on Saturday. I know Jeff Sintel, who joined me for part of that, feels very much the same way that I do. Rodrigo Blankenship and I were talking about this a little bit, feels that way to him as well. He's a part of obviously what we do on there too, where you just realize this venue, which, as I talked about a lot last week, is changing. You're not going to be going back there for 2 years. It's going to be a completely different experience when you do go back. That for so many reasons, this felt like an end of an era for the cocktail party. I'm overly nostalgic anyway. I don't think you can talk about Georgia, Florida without being somewhat nostalgic. And when you realize just how much Georgia has dominated this rivalry in the decade of Kirby Smart, the sense of appreciation I have for that compared to what I grew up with, what I experienced for most of my life until these last 10 years, going on 10 years now, full-time for Kirby Smart as coach, it's almost just too much. You're almost just bowled over by all of it, but it is so much fun, and we're just so happy about all of that here today, getting another one of these wins. And obviously, you'll circle a couple of key moments in the game. Georgia gets the big 4th down stop against them, marches down the field and scores. Gunnar Stockton, we've learned, checks to the running play. Chauncey Bowens takes to the house, the former Florida commit. Then with Georgia getting the football back, gets the 3rd and 8 conversion that allowed them to keep the football, that essentially put the game on ice. Those are the big moments. There's also the minor controversy in the eyes of some as it relates to the officiating. We'll get to that here in a moment. But really, it was Georgia making the big plays when it needed to, when it mattered most, as it has been doing all season long. And something about this one, doing it again in this spot, in this venue, it does. It just hits a little different. It just feels a little different to be able to experience that way. And after the game, Kirby Smart acknowledged that, yeah, you know what? Even though you don't say a lot going into the week and all the games are the same and blah, 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 and that's what a coach has to do. We understand that Kirby's got a job to do, and he can't overemphasize any one thing at the expense of something else. But it's also okay to be a little more relaxed when the game is over. Once you've got the win securely in hand, can you admit it was a big one? Kirby Smart was more than happy to do that. This is Kirby after the game.
Yeah, it's big. I don't think it's because it's the last game. It's because it's the next game. I mean, it has nothing to do with where we'll be next year or any of that. I told our guys, we got guys that won't ever come back here. We got guys that for the next 2 years, they will not play in this venue, so it'll be played somewhere else. But really good football team, and I don't think anybody would want to play them regardless of their record.
So you've got some seniors that are going out 4-0. You've got at least 2, right? And it may just be the 2. But Cash Jones, Micah Morris are guys that have, in the time they've been at Georgia, they've been here for all 5 of the Georgia wins. It feels like Micah Morris has been here since 2017. But they've been here for 5 years as redshirt seniors. They've been here for 5 straight Georgia wins. And I'm just telling you, and I know there's a younger generation of Georgia fans that they don't process the same way, and I'm fine with that. They're making their own memories. They're doing their own thing, and one day when they got gray hair like I do, they'll be telling their own experience of how they came up as Georgia fans. But for some of us, it is awe-inspiring that Georgia has dominated this series as much as it has. In fact, as a way of just trying to provide some proper context, and total confession here, this is a little bit self-indulgent. I went back to the early days of DawgNation Daily. I'm talking about like episode 309. We're barely a year on the air, actually a little bit more than a year of doing the show. And, first of all, it's just weird to go back and hear the show from so long ago, not on video yet, just figuring out how to do this. And it's year 1 of Kirby Smart. And in year 1 of Kirby Smart, Georgia lost to Florida again. It was the 2nd straight loss for Georgia. Been the 3rd straight loss for Florida. No, 4th straight loss for Georgia against Florida in that particular run. But there had been, a million losses, prior to that. You're talking about 8 of 10 and, 20, over a 30-year period, Georgia losing 20-something of those games. Just complete dominance in the rivalry. And all the hater paraphernalia that we have on the show here and all the stuff that we do, all of our little, gimmicks and shticks and things like that, all of this began at that moment. It's 2016. We're not on video. I'm just doing this as a podcast. We're stuck in a closet somewhere. I'm doing the show that way. And I went back and listened to these shows, getting ready for this show today. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week, just complaining up one side and down the other that Georgia couldn't beat Florida. And if Georgia wanted to win a national championship, it had to make a goal to beat Florida first. And if you could beat your rivalry more, beat your biggest rival more regularly, you'd have a chance to aspire to do great things. And Georgia fans needed to view this rivalry more so than anything else as the one that mattered because Georgia had been so feudal in it. It's really amazing to go back and hear all of this from way back then. So if you will indulge me for a second, can we go back down memory lane just for a minute to talk about what it used to be back almost a full 10 years ago, 9 years ago, almost a full 10 years ago, me essentially begging Georgia to start taking this rivalry more seriously and begging Georgia to find a way to win this game for a change. This is from when we were just a podcast way back in November of 2016. Here I am, a much younger version of myself. Take a listen to this.
This is one of those things moving forward where Georgia needs to say, hey, we got so many rivals. We got this school and that school and that school. Even though geographically that may be true, and I hear from you guys all the time that say I live in this part of the world and therefore this team is the team that I hate the most, I understand that's specific for you. But generally speaking for DawgNation, the number one rival is supposed to be Florida. And moving forward, that's what on DawgNation Daily we're going to do our part to try to make be true. We're going to try to say moving forward that Florida is the game for Georgia, more so than any other, that the Dogs have to win. We talked this week about the idea of being a good Georgia fan and what does it mean to be a good Georgia fan. Well, one of the things that I'd like to see included in that definition, that moving forward, a good Georgia fan is a Gator hater first and foremost before anything else.
So that's me way back then saying, hey, listen, Georgia's been dominating this rivalry, but we're going to try to change it. We're going to make it our personality. We're going to make it our mission to stop all these losses to Florida, 20-something overall over the course of a 30-year period, 4 or 5 years in a row of Florida beating Georgia, even in just that span. We said, we're going to say somehow, some way, this stops. This comes to an end. And the best idea I could come up with the time to do this, I introduced for the very first time on that particular show is episode 309. By the way, you can go back and re-listen. If Google's doesn't quite work as a search engine the way it used to, they're not easy to search. But if you can find these old episodes, here I am saying, here's what we're going to do to say a good Georgia fan is a Gator hater first and foremost. Here's how we're going to try to make this rivalry the big deal it's supposed to be. Once again, me from November of 2016, a long time ago.
The folks I want to see Georgia hate is Florida. I want to see the passion return for this rivalry on the part of Georgia fans. I want to see a whole legion of Gator haters rise up. And I'm not quite sure exactly how we're going to do this yet, but we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that over the next few weeks, the next few months, for the next year until Georgia gets a chance to right the wrongs in this series in Jacksonville next October. So at the very least, here's what we're going to do. Today, I begin the Gator hater countdown. By my tally, it is 359 days until Georgia gets a chance to go beat up on Florida in the cocktail party next year. And we're going to count down those days every year. Not because the other games don't matter. Georgia takes a trip to South Bend next year. That's going to be a ton of fun. Auburn may be pretty good next year. That game's going to matter. Hopefully Georgia's better, so they're all slightly more important. But none are more important than the Florida game. We're going to count down to it. Because here on DawgNation Daily, we believe that the best UGA fans are Gator haters first and foremost.
I mean, you want to talk about a time capsule. Here we are, before Georgia had been to Notre Dame, worried about what Auburn might be, but saying, we got to find a way to beat Florida. We got to find a way to get this rivalry back to being what it's supposed to be. We got to figure out a way to make that happen. That is a young man, and by the way, much younger. I was still in my 30s then. That is a young man with desperation in his voice. That is a young man who's like, if I'm going to try to do this show for the rest of my life, I can't be losing to Florida every single year. We got to try to find a way to do that. Eddie, was not even a imagination at that point. The Gator Hater logo that we would eventually, I don't want to say make famous, but that we would make a big part of what we do, that hadn't even been close to invented yet. All the things that we would eventually do, all of that sprung from this notion way back then that with Georgia on a long losing streak to Florida, I guess it's been 5 years in a row since Georgia had beaten Florida, on a long losing streak, we said, we're going to count it down every single day because we believe that this rivalry can change and it could change the following season. Now, what if you could have told that young man, as I was, that and I'm not an idiot. I'm not pretending that I'm the one that changed the rivalry. I'm just saying that when we called for it to change, boy, did it. What if you could have told me that eventually I would see from that moment forward, Georgia win 8 of the next 9, win 2 national championships in the process, multiple SEC championships as well. What would that young man back then, just figuring out how to do this show and just learning who the audience was and what our relationship was going to be, that when I sat there and said, we're going to do a Gator Hater countdown because we want Georgia to change the rivalry against Florida, could you ever imagine it would have changed as much as it did? That's the emotion of this rivalry for me. Now, different folks have different emotions. We talked last week about the amazing story of Gunnar Stockton and his grandfather and his heart attack there at this game in 2010. And after the game, much like I have my own emotion for my own reason, Gunnar all the more so because he's the quarterback that actually played in the game. He talked about his emotion around all of this too. And many of you have your own similar tales of, yeah, for my own story, my own family reasons, and my own stuff, this one means a lot. And for those of us who feel that way, Gunnar spoke for all of us.
Yeah, it means a lot. My family, we have some history with this game, and unfortunately lost my granddad. But I just coming into it, I had a lot of emotion, and I was just really excited just to be able to play in this game. And since for every year, it's just been really special to come down here and play in it.
Special indeed, and I'm talking about so special to watch the way in which Georgia just wins it year after year after year. We never get tired of saying that, and I'm so thrilled for the role that Gunnar Stockton played in making all that happen. Now, let me slightly shift, although stay on the same general theme. So for those of us who grew up around the rivalry and experienced so much frustration and futility and listened to Corey Smith sing songs about it and all of that, for those of us who have that as a backstory, the game means that. But there's also the meaning in the present tense of in a year in which Georgia just does these amazing fourth quarter performances, comebacks, back against the wall, clutch moments coming up big. This was another one of those as well, where Georgia just finds a way, somehow, some way, they just will not relinquish their opportunity to win, even when it seems like, well, maybe this time the magic's just not going to come back. Somehow the magic always comes back. And after the game, Gunnar Stockton talked about that too.
Yeah, I think it starts with Coach Smart and just the mindset that he has. We don't look at the scoreboard, and I think everybody here, we got great teammates and everybody believes in it. And when you have that, good things happen.
So Gunnar says, yeah, we don't look at the scoreboard. And you're going to hear Kirby Smart say some version of that in a moment. And I do get that. However, I don't think, with all due respect to the guys who make the wins happen, I don't think that necessarily fully explains it. Because when Gunnar says, yeah, we don't look at the scoreboard, what that would be an explanation for is why that Georgia doesn't let the pressure get to them. You understand this? A lot of us know what it feels like to be worse than our best when the pressure really comes in life, whether that's, trying to break 90 in golf or trying to close the sale in the big, prospect meeting. Some of us have experience with, well, this is a big moment where I can come up clutch, but the moment gets to be a little too big, and not thinking about the scoreboard or the stakes of the situation would be an explanation for how you keep from being overcome by the pressure. But when I think about Georgia, that's not quite what I think is going on here. In fact, as we have that conversation, I'm going to let you hear Dalen Everett, the Georgia cornerback, his explanation for how it is that Georgia just seems to rise to the occasion in these moments when it matters most, in the most crucial time of the game in that fourth quarter. Here's Dalen Everett's explanation for all of this.
I mean, that's how it's been the past couple of games, but, we try to do a better job of starting off faster. And, we know what type of team we are in the second half. Like, we a team, we get more energy as the game goes, and that's been shown the past couple of weeks, so we just did a good job with that.
See, it's that thing that Everett says that I almost feel like comes a little closer to the accurate description. He's right when he says, or at least he alludes to, I don't know that we can keep doing this. We've certainly done this in recent weeks. I don't know that we need to keep doing this, but we get more energy as the game goes along. And that's really what I feel like I see. Somehow, Georgia seems to not just be as good as its best in the fourth quarter. That's what you would do if you're, not being overcome by the moment. Somehow Georgia gets better. Somehow Georgia is at its absolute apex of performance when they absolutely cannot afford any more mistakes. That somehow that's when Georgia is even better than it's been at any point in the game. And I don't know if this is quite true, but it certainly looks true. It feels true. It's almost like they crave that pressure to finally feel the way they need to feel to go out and do what they need to do. And obviously when you live on the razor's edge like that, the margin for error becomes really thin, and I would not advise them to keep doing it if they can help it. But I am just wildly entertained by the fact that they have so successfully done that as much as they have this year. And as Gunner alluded to a moment ago, what Kirby Smart has said about this sort of thing, Kirby, after the game, did say almost exactly what Gunner said that he would say, and more too. Here is Kirby Smart's own thoughts about these continual comebacks and thrilling late game heroics and all of the things that have made Georgia for this particular season. Here is Kirby Smart again.
Does it help? Or does it, I don't know, I don't believe in playing with fire, but if I could just write the script and say, yeah, let's go up by 14, let's go up by 21, I don't write the script. So the script kind of plays out. I know that our kids are not uncomfortable playing from that. They don't get chained to a scoreboard. There's people that play chained to the scoreboard. Our guys are free of that, and they just play to the team and keep chopping. And if you keep chopping, eventually good things happen. I do think we're very well conditioned. I do think our guys believe in winning in the fourth.
I've referenced a book before, Anti-Fragile by a guy named Nassim Taleb. It's a book that some people may have read where it talks about organizations not just being non-fragile, but actually anti-fragile, meaning they become even stronger in the most pressure-packed moments. I feel like that's what Georgia is. I think that Kirby does a pretty good job of describing it there, that Georgia's just comfortable in those situations. And it would be better if Georgia didn't play so many close games. And if you keep playing close games as much as Georgia is, it's probably going to buy them at some point, just being real, that there's probably a price to be paid for playing these one-score, down-to-the-wire games every single week. Eventually a ball may not bounce your way. Sometimes that happens. But for the moment, Georgia just doesn't survive in these games. It actually thrives in the most pressure-packed of situations. It is an amazing thing to see. They are, to use a phrase that Kirby Smart used before, hard to kill. And if anything, if you leave them with a chance, if you give them any reason to believe, they seem to, as Dalen Everett said, gain even more strength in the process. So to sum all of this up, I'll say it this way. Saturday's win for Georgia against Florida was fun for me because of what it has meant for all the years that I've been going there. And that much younger version of myself on this show back when we were really first just getting started, who was begging Georgia to beat Florida and begging this program to figure out a way to how to flip this rivalry. And they did. They have, and they're still doing it, we believe, for a very long time to come. But even in the present tense, for those who don't have the same long-standing memories that some of us have, to see this team this season, whether it be overtime against Tennessee or come back ferociously against Auburn or shoot out against Ole Miss or now this game against Florida, just seeing a team that's showing so much resilience, so much physical and mental toughness, and being at its absolute best in the most pressure-packed of situations. This is, for me, becoming a very memorable season. I still don't know how it's going to end, but it is a lot of fun to experience here in this moment. My name is Brandon Adams, and this is DawgNation Daily, daily podcast for Georgia Bulldogs fans, presented today by Pella Window and Door of Georgia. We are happy that you are with us, no matter how you get to us. All these, years ago, it was just a podcast, and it was just that audio version. Now we're on video, and we got these great things we can show you, like we did off the top of the show. If you're watching on video, the celebration and the moments in Jacksonville, fun to be able to do that. Radio on Athens Sports Radio 960 The Ref podcast, wherever you find them, including world-famous DawgNation.com. It is just such a thrill to be talking to you on this show in what is our 10th anniversary season. We've been doing this now going on 11 years, 10 years worth of shows for us to look back on, a lot of time talking about the Georgia Bulldogs. And man, it is just so great to be doing that with you here today. We appreciate our friends at Pella Window and Door of Georgia who make it possible. And we love great sponsors like Pella because of the connection they have to Georgia fans such as yourself. And right now, in honor of that, they're doing something amazing. In this space, every single Monday on this show, you hear me encouraging you to reach out to one of those Pella experts, talk about upgrading the windows in your home and getting the fuel efficient, that's a totally different thing, energy efficient benefits you would get from that, saving money this time of year on your heating bills perhaps, looking good on the outside of your home. All of that is true, but for the moment, there's an even better incentive to get that consultation scheduled with one of those Pella experts. Right now, between now and November 14th, when you schedule that free consultation with a Pella expert, it's going to give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to the big rivalry game on November 29th between Georgia and Georgia Tech. So here's how it goes. You've got between now and November 14th to schedule your consultation, to talk to them about the whole process and what the windows can do for you, and just learn, because you hear me say it, but those folks can tell you even more, how you can reduce the sound that you hear on the inside of your home. You got a busy road near your house, trucks rattling, rumbling. You don't want to hear that inside. Well, the Pella windows can reduce the sound that you hear in your home by more than 50%. They can tell you all that kind of thing. But it's also important to you that just that free in-home consultation, and that alone is going to give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to see Georgia Tech on November 29th. So got to get the consultation scheduled prior to November 14th. We'll draw the winner on November 18th. If you want to find out more about this, you can go to PellaGA.com/dogs. That's PellaGA.com/dogs. PellaGA.com/dogs. Book your consultation with the Pella expert. That is how you get registered for your chance to win. Do it before November 14th. So you got to act quick to do that. And then you could be on your way to see the Dogs and the Jackets in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But get this, it's not just any pair of tickets. This is also a pair of tickets in a suite. You get the food, you get the beverage. You've got all of that as a part of this experience. I think of Pella as a luxury product, so it's not a surprise if they're going to do a ticket giveaway. It would be a luxury ticket giveaway. This is one of those. It's a pair of sweet tickets, food, beverage, amazing view. Really, a Mercedes-Benz Stadium suite is a pretty big deal. You'll be very, very privileged there that day. And so if you win this from Pella, that's where you'll be sitting for that game coming up on Black Friday afternoon. So one more time, PellaGA.com/dogs. That's PellaGA.com/dogs. Register for your in-home consultation. Just have a talk with one of the Pella experts. That's all you got to do to be registered for your chance to win. So it's a great chance to learn more about Pella while also getting a chance to win some tickets. One more time, PellaGA.com/dogs. Let me see if I can say it a little slower. PellaGA.com/dogs for your chance to win on that. Okay, before we move on, let me also remind you of this. We got a big event coming up here on November 13th we want you to be a part of, live at the Terrapin Brewery in Athens. Terrapin's an amazing craft beer that's so deeply connected to Athens, Georgia. People around the Athens area are so proud of the great brewery tradition that exists around Athens, and Terrapin is certainly one of the best, our favorite for sure. And they're going to be hosting a big event for us coming up Thursday, November 13th from 6 to 9 p.m. So DawgNation folks going to be there, special guests on hand too. We'll be talking a lot of Georgia football there that night. Cercheros providing some free food. It's free to get in. We just need an RSVP from you. So go to DawgNation.com/on-tap for more on that. That's DawgNation.com/on-tap. Just simply RSVP to say, yeah, I'm going to be there. The Cercheros food will be there for you. The fun Q&A with us, the live experience, that's going to be a part of this. Your first beer that night from Terrapin is complimentary. You'll love that. By the way, speaking of ticket giveaways, the following Saturday is the big one for Georgia against Texas. We're going to be doing a ticket giveaway that night for the big one in Athens that Saturday there at the event. So you want to be a part of this. It's DawgNation on tap, a free event, but we're going to ask you to RSVP. So go to DawgNation.com/on-tap to do that. Free food courtesy of Cercheros, first beer courtesy of Terrapin, an amazing night with the DawgNation team and some special guests. It's Thursday, November 13th from 6 until 9 p.m. We cannot wait for you to be a part of that. Okay, it's Jon Stinchcomb in a moment. Prior to that, though, let's get ready to go around the doghouse today, poured by our friends at Dr. Pepper. Okay, so there was, not to us, but some of the folks around this game noticed kind of a hot topic moment where late in the game, DJ Lagway is going to attempt to pass here. Receiver gets behind the Georgia secondary. If he stays on his feet, if the throw is better, it's probably a surefire touchdown. That's the way that's probably going to go. Ultimately, the throw was short from Lagway. Receiver has to dive to try to get it, and the ball touches the ground. And we've got great video from our guy Cody Chaffins on this. What a great job he does putting this together. And to my eyes, and I don't pretend to be an objective observer, so non-Georgia fans will disregard me, and frankly, I don't care what they think about this or much anything else. But to my eyes, it's just fairly obvious that the ball caroms and goes into the receiver's hand, Sturdivant's hand. Just fairly obvious that's what it does. It's a close call, but as I've said now more than once this season, just because it's close doesn't mean that it's controversial. And I just think you've got pretty clear and compelling evidence that the right call was made in the field at the time. It was ultimately upheld by replay. The ball hits the ground. It's essentially trapped, to use a baseball term. And close call. Florida fans obviously will think about what could have been on that, but ultimately the officials, I think, got it right. After the game, Kirby Smart says, even if the officials got it right, and ultimately he's already had enough dust-ups with officials for 1 year probably. Didn't want to necessarily go down that road, but he did acknowledge that with the receiver getting behind the defense, and if Lagway makes a better throw, although we didn't say it that way, that Georgia's probably fortunate that it didn't turn out to be a touchdown for those lousy, stinking Gators. This is Kirby after the game.
I saw a wide-open guy. We got busted coverage. So we got a guy that's supposed to be in the half. He got the wrong signal and played the wrong defense. We had nobody back there. I mean, we're insanely lucky that, number one, he didn't score, but that he didn't catch it. I didn't see anything. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell. I mean, that's their job.
Yeah, so he ain't going down the road of officials again. And obviously, with the issues with the Auburn game, Kirby's going to stay far away from that. I mean, correctly saying the officials, saw it, they called what they called. And as I said before, I think the video, if you're watching a video that we're showing you right now, pretty clear and compelling that the ball did touch the ground first. Of course, some Florida fans are going to jump on that with Kirby saying, he said they were lucky. He admitted they got a lucky break. Not from the officials, though. He means just simply from the fact that it was a bad throw and that the receiver wasn't able to stay on his feet. That's the part that Georgia was lucky about. And to be honest, they were lucky. And you don't win a lot of games like this if you don't get some stroke of luck going your way every now and then. But if you want a real gotcha as it comes from a particular coach here, we think we have that with Billy Gonzalez, the Florida interim coach, who, in the midst of talking about the moment, was asked directly, did you think it was a catch? And, well, listen for the answer that Gonzalez gave to that question post-game. Here he is.
It's hard. You take a look at we're going to go back and watch film, and there's probably going to be more than one of those type of plays. But it's one of those things. It just didn't work the way that we wanted it to work today. The seniors got to continue to lead. Young guys got to continue to get better, and we got to just keep fighting.
Did you think it was a catch?
No.
Did you think it was a catch? No. We're done here. We're done. Not even the Florida coach thought it was a catch. So there is very little to say about this. I'll also remind people that when it comes to the non-Georgia fans that seem to want to find their way, first of all, you can see the ball turn when it hits the ground. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. The ball changes direction upon hitting the ground. I mean, what are we even doing here? I mean, it is fairly obvious that the ball touches the ground and Sturdivant does not have control over it. But keep in mind this, for those who are not Georgia fans who want to say, Georgia always gets the breaks from the officials. If you want to go back and look 2024, 2023, 2022, Georgia was outside the top 100 nationally in penalty yards per games against its opponents. If the officials are rigging games for Georgia over the course of the last 3 years, they're terrible at it because whoever Georgia's playing is among the least penalized team in America in the game that it's playing Georgia. So this notion that Georgia always gets a break from the officials, the penalty yardage per game over the 3 previous seasons certainly would suggest otherwise there on that. So they are desperate to find something to hang on Georgia because right now this very hard-to-kill Georgia team is a very bad thing for those who are hoping for the Bulldogs' demise. UGA not cooperating with that storyline here right now. And we'll make that around the doghouse. It's poured today by our friends at Dr. Pepper. Now, you better believe after a long weekend of high school football, then going to the cocktail party, then coming back home quick, and being back here today, you better believe when this show is done, I'm going to need the pick-me-up that I get from the delicious one-of-a-kind flavor of Dr. Pepper. And I'm